Heyo, I'm Cadey.
And it's your co-host Cori. And listen, we have two Caitlins in the building. One you already know, even though she goes by Cadey, but one you may not. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself.
Hey everybody, I'm Caitlin. I am a sophomore at Tarleton State University. I'm a criminal justice major, and I'm really interested in all things women's rights, women's equality, and I'm real excited to get into this movie this week.
Yes,
Woohoo!
yes. Welcome to the show. You are our first guest. So pat yourself on the back if you can, whatever you gotta do.
Lots of pressure,
Yay!
lots of pressure.
Nah, no pressure at all. No pressure at all. We are happy that you are here today to talk to us about your experience with the movie Wild. This is one of Katie's favorite books and movies. So you want to kind of give him an overview, baby?
Yeah, so Wild is a movie that was based off of a book that was authored by Cheryl Stray and written by Cheryl Stray, and it was it was her story of how she just went through all of these terrible things in life, and it's not like life just happened to her. Like, they were mistakes that she made and issues that she got herself into. But she took responsibility for those, and she kind of got to a point where she could not, life was just too hard. And so one day she decided that she was just going to leave everything and hike the Pacific Crest Trail from the Mojave Desert up to Washington. So
yeah, listen.
It is a story about her, pretty much everything leading up to the point of her wanting to go on this hike, and then the struggles that the hike brought and what it did for her.
I feel like I have to say this for the fellas. Sounds like a boring movie, doesn't it? It is not a boring movie. I think this is probably our third time seeing it. The story is great, I feel like, in this film. I mean, obviously this is
Reese
somebody's
Witherspoon.
life. Yes.
Reese Witherspoon is the lead role, and of course she's amazing because it's Reese Witherspoon.
And I don't think I know
But
nobody else who played it.
It is a very different role for her, I will say. You see Reese Witherspoon naked.
Plenty of times.
A few times.
Several times.
Plenty of times.
And I feel like that's just it's just a different, because it's such a grunge role, I feel like. I mean, her life was not great. So it's a very different light of Reese Witherspoon, but
yeah, and
I enjoy it.
I enjoy it too. I think it brings a lot of conversation. And I don't want to spend too much time. I kind of just want to jump into 0 to 10. What are we rating this film? Who wants to go first?
Oh, let's start with Cadey.
Okay, I'll go
go.
first. I'll go first. So this book is the book, and I'm going to talk a lot about the book because the book is what I read first and what got me into this. So I give the book a 9. It's one of my favorites.
Wow.
But the movie, I give it probably an 8.
So right up under.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I
can
like
dig
the
that.
movie, but I feel like it leaves out a lot of key parts of the story. But that's
so
just,
you one of them, you read the book and you watched the movie and it's like, I don't care for the movie because the book was so much better.
But some of the parts of the book were very important.
Okay.
Because I feel like the movie just kind of rushes through a lot of things, and you get a lot of the story through flashbacks rather than being in it and experiencing it, which cinematically makes sense because then it would be a 5-hour movie.
Long,
Yeah.
It makes sense. But
what about you, Caitlin? Do you feel the same? First off, did you read the book?
I have not gotten to read the book. No.
Are you a book reader?
Sometimes, but I really have to get into it. It takes a lot for me to get into a book.
I feel that. I used to be that way.
I'm still that way, so don't feel bad.
I've
And
been
life
trying
is
to
so
get Cori.
fast.
Yeah, right?
Life is so fast. Slowing down to read a book, it takes so much out of me. I will say, once at the beginning of quarantine, a year ago, I was able to read books. I had so much time. Time slowed down. But just basing it off of watching the movie, I was giving it a 9.
Okay.
I think the flashbacks, I agree. Like, I'm sure that the book had more on it and you
Mhm.
could actually understand a little bit better. The flashbacks, it was kind of only showing you the triggers that related to like the most intense parts. So I think those could have
That's
been done a little differently.
that's a good way of saying that. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
agree with that. What about you?
For me, first and foremost, let me just say this is on Amazon Prime. I'm sure you can find it other places. You might have to rent it. But just a nice little date night film. You know, you get with your significant other one, get some popcorn, watch this film. You know, maybe you're gonna cry or whatever. I'm actually surprised Katie didn't cry, but maybe she already knew it was coming, so it's not. You know, she was ready for that. Me, I would say a 7, and I'll explain to my like why it's a 7.
Okay.
Before the podcast, Katie and I were talking about all the goofs that were in the movie, and I feel like I saw a lot of those goofs, but also, like, I would imagine somebody that was going through her background, you never really knew what sparked her idea for going on this trip, right? That's number one.
Yeah.
You just, you're there already. She's pretty much going on the hike. And so it's hard the flashbacks are supposed to let you get there. Right. But do you ever, like, the only reason I know that the reason why she's hiking the trail is because I'm married to you. That's it. I would have no idea of why she was actually doing it besides she just wanted to do it. And it's hard to, like, I give it a 7 because it's really hard to be one person in a film. The story is really centered around you to bring a great performance, which I think she did, but it just didn't, like, it don't slap for me the way that I feel like that maybe the book would, you know, and you're reading because you're really going deep into this person.
Yeah.
So you're really connecting to the person. But it wasn't, I don't know, sometimes I felt like maybe I'm being biased because I felt like she was treating her husband like crap and her husband didn't deserve that. And
Yeah.
so the whole story itself kind of falls in on his head if she just never did any of that stuff. If she would have just been like the decent human that she should have been or decent wife she should have been, she wouldn't have the need to hike the PCT. She wouldn't have lost her toenails. You know, she wouldn't get interviewed by guys thinking that she's a hobo. All of these things wouldn't have happened to her had she had just, I don't know, been the wife that she always wanted to be, or at least her husband wanted her to be. So for me, a 7. But a 7 isn't bad.
I feel that, and I feel because I read a lot about the movie and about the book, and I feel like a lot of people feel that way. They they enjoy the story, but they're not sympathetic at all because they're like, well, she got herself into this situation.
You know, you feel me? Like, I'm like,
which is true, but I mean, everybody has to go through their own.
Her mom dying was like, that was tough. I feel like that drew me to her. My mom has not passed, but I feel like I can be empathetic to somebody who lost their parent and they're like just struggling to, and then even her brother, like in the film, is probably going through it tough, visibly going through it tough.
Right.
While she seems to be like the strong person, he's the one that is like, I can't even show up to the hospital.
Right. So she does have 2 other siblings. She has a brother and a sister. And her mom passed away. So her and her mom were really close. I mean, you see that they went to college together. And then her mom passed away from cancer, and it was a very like short-term, short-lived, aggressive, like got diagnosed and then not too long after had passed from it. So her mom passed away, and then she started cheating on her husband, got divorced, got hooked on heroin, I think.
Heroin.
Was she? Well, I don't even think in the movie though, and this may be something different in the book, I don't really think she's hooked in the movie. Like, she just kind of, to me, it seems like she's just really doing it recreationally. Like, to ease her mind. She leaving, she doing it. Do you feel different? I feel like you about to say something. Do you feel different?
You never really get that idea of, like, she went through any withdrawals, which I'm fairly certain you would have pretty strong withdrawals with it. So I think it would have been recreational because she could go without it. But I
True.
remember at one point it quotes, like she says, "I'm not some junkie, I'm just an experimentalist, a girl who says yes instead of no."
Mm.
So I think it's more of she was just testing it out and it was what was available, and that's what she was.
Right.
If you look, she was kind of being coerced into it and pushed into it by the guys.
Yeah.
Damn, girl, you did your homework on that one because I
No,
missed that quote.
that is good. And I think that where we see in the movie the junkie aspect is when like she's on the corner and the guy puts a knife to her neck and like she's just so strung out and she's alone outside and
Good
like
point.
hanging around other junkies. So that's where I got that from, because I think
Valid.
it does go into a little bit more detail in the book. But
Okay.
anyways, a junkie and got divorced, got pregnant, and had an abortion. So
Okay.
I think it was all kind of like, I think it was an accumulation of things.
Right, just built
that
up.
just
Built up.
Yeah, and then that
And
was why.
I have a quote down where it was, I paid a lot of attention trying to figure out just like truly what gets you to that point and
Right.
what is her reasoning behind it. Because mad respect, I don't think I could ever get myself to walk that
Hell
much. I
no.
couldn't do it. But there's a quote
I can't
have
walk
over
5
here.
miles.
I know, I'm tired walking up the stairs. Like, I don't know. I could not do it. But it says, "I'm going to walk myself back to the woman my mother thought I was. I'm going to put myself in the way of beauty." And that stuck out to me like a sore thumb because she was so close to her mom. And you see that through all of the flashbacks and all of the songs she repeatedly is playing to herself in her brain, because what else is she going to do while she's walking? Every single one of those songs triggers a memory with her. And you see that she looks up to her mom in a way because her mom was being abused as well. You see that.
Yeah.
And she goes back to the abuser a few times. And I think that how you're raised plays a huge role in how you live your life. Along with if you're seeing your parents' relationship will determine how your relationships will go, kind of. In a way, like, if you see abuse and yelling and fighting every single day, you're conditioned to believe that's the normal. Yeah. So I think that her mom's relationships played a huge role in how her relationships were going.
Good point. Good point. Because I'm like,
or even if that's not the normal, you self-destruct until it is. And I feel like that's what her thing was, because her husband was a great man and she's the one who was like cheating on him and he was taking her back and like
and they got matching
the superhero.
That's a topic of discussion and I think maybe I can get some insight on. We talk about this often, I feel like, but the ability for people to be either like, you know, have love for their exes, because I feel like in the society that we live in today, all I ever see on Twitter and everything else is like, would you would you jump off of this mountain, no parachute, or get back with your ex? And you know, it's like a funny video, somebody run off the mountain, right? Like somebody. So in this movie, we see a very mature version of a split, of a divorce. They still obviously have love for each other, but their relationship is like they can't fix it. They're not really meant to be together, but they can still have love for each other. My question is, what are your thoughts on that? As far as is that something that really does work, or is it F the exes?
No, I think it does, but I think it comes with a level of maturity too. And so I think you'll see that a lot more in marriages and divorces rather than just relationships.
Yeah. And I also think it kind of plays a role in circumstances.
Right.
Because I would say I would never wish anything bad on any of my exes. And even though some of them have done some pretty messed up things, I still care for them and I wish them the best. And I always am like, if you need anybody, you can come to me. So I think it's a mutual respect. I agree. And it's just something you learn over time, because I'm sure when you're younger and you're dating for like 2 months or whatever, it's not as big of a thing. I think it comes with age and what you go through. Do you grow through it, or are you just going to sit on it and continue to be upset about it?
Yeah. And
I don't think I'm ever going to get no matching tattoo if something like that happens, but I think I still might be close to some people. But listeners, y'all let us know, right? How do y'all feel about that? Because I feel like that's a deeper topic of discussion that like some people feel completely opposite about. Like they
and
like,
I feel
hell
like,
no.
Yeah, and I feel like it comes with circumstance, like you were saying, Caitlin. Like if someone, I don't know. I think that it comes with respect, and if you lost respect and that's the reason that you're getting divorced because there is no more respect, then obviously you can't have that. So.
Tough. All right. So I wrote this question because I felt like having you both on and what the movie is kind of about, it would be good for y'all to answer. So I'm going to go Caitlin first. Not my Caitlin.
There's two of us.
What do you think that the film is telling you, like, as a woman? How does it speak to you?
Oh, wow. It was a lot to take in. So personally, in a broad realm, I kind of saw it as like, don't get so wrapped up in the hard things and the bad times, because at the end of the day, things happen and life's not perfect and it's going to hurt and you're going to go through some stuff, but you can't lose yourself and you have to stay aware at all times. And this film kind of solidified the sense of survival that, as crappy as it sounds, women are kind of conditioned. And you see that in multiple scenes. So it kind of shows a sense of whenever we're like alone or in a spot where we're not completely safe or feel the safest, it shows a very strong amount of vulnerability and how she's dealing with it. And I think that opens up the conversation to that more. So as a woman, I guess it just kind of solidifies some of the things that I think on a daily basis.
Okay, I feel that. Do you feel the same, Cadey G?
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that as a woman, her story inspires me, and just her story on the trail inspires me.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
no, and just reminds me that we can do anything. If we want to take a solo hiking trip 1,000 miles, we can. And we are more than capable. And even though distance hiking like that is typically considered like a man's sport or the men's field, whatever you want to call it, that a woman is capable of it too. And I think that something in the movie,
right,
when Greg said that he was going to quit and come back next year, and she was like, wow, Greg left and I'm still here. Like, that's weird. I didn't expect that. And so I think that she was doubting herself because she's not an experienced hiker like all of these other people, right? And so it just shows me that perseverance, and this is for anyone, but like as a woman, I feel something about it. Like, no matter what is ahead of you and no matter how hard it may seem, you just have to put one foot in front of the other and keep moving. And one of my favorite quotes from the book is, oh, hold on. Let me look it up real quick. I have it.
Bust it out. Wait, you got the book on hand? You're about to flip to the page like
you have a sticky note.
78.
You have a sticky note on this.
Something she says in the book is, who is stronger than me? No one. And that's what she kept telling herself while she was out there is, who is stronger than me? No one.
Mm.
I feel
She
like that's something
repeated
we
a
all
lot
have
of
to
things.
believe. She did repeat a lot of things.
She repeated a lot of things, and I think it's a lot of determination. And there was one point where I heard she repeated, "I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid."
Yeah.
And it was whenever she was in the tent at night. And I mean, I definitely do that at night. It doesn't always work, so I'm not sure how good of a system it is. But she says, like, you can quit anytime, you can quit anytime. But the determination and almost stubbornness to not quit. Because personally, I work in a field that is predominantly male. I work in construction now. And that is a male job typically. So it's one of those things where I'm in a way proving myself, and if you can quit anytime, she's proving that she doesn't need to quit. She can do this, and she does inevitably.
Exactly.
All
exactly. Also, let's talk about just the fact of being on your own for 1,000 miles.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Like how long did it take? 3 months?
Nope. Hell no.
Like,
I can be alone for 3 months.
Not just alone, but alone and in your own head.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah. No.
No way. I would be.
I gotta turn on music to get out of there.
Yep. Right, and then you run out of battery power unless you got like some sort of solar thing or whatever. But her pack's so damn big, she might have something in there, right? But nah, I think that to me is what pushed it up to like a 7 for me, because from a psychological standpoint, this is what people don't understand. There's a reason why people in solitary confinement
go crazy.
Okay, we are not meant to be alone. We're not built to be alone. We're meant to be around other people, which I'm glad on the trail she met other people who she was enabled to encounter and grow some sort of friendship and some relationship with. Even though I think that there was a lesson with everybody who she met, right? Some sort of life lesson with everybody who she met. And maybe that was that way for her in real life. Maybe it was just for the cinematic reasons. But being alone for that long is, you only get to come out triumphant. And well, I won't say you only get to come out triumphant. When you come out the other side from being alone, just for me personally speaking, you recognize the love that you have for yourself, and then you start to look at life a little bit different. So there was a point in time in my life where, believe it or not, I was a loner. And to this day, I still am a loner at heart. I love to be by myself because I really do love myself so much. But it took a depression that I was going through for me to learn more about myself, for me to overcome that by myself, so that I didn't need anybody. So anybody else coming into my life was only an addition to my happiness, and not anything else. They weren't the source of it. I'm the source of my own joy, the source of my own love and everything else. Everybody else that came in has clearly and only been an addition. And I think that that's, for me, watching the movie as somebody who's just like, this person's going on a journey, I feel like we have all gone on this journey at some point. So I'm gonna skip around real quick. The question really is like, have you had any self-discovery moments? I just talked about one for me, in your life, like great or small. Has there been any moment where you're like, oh, okay, I just found out who I am. This is the moment where I'm becoming myself, and this is gonna be my mantra. This is who I am going forward.
Yeah. I feel like with coronavirus hitting, I feel like all of us got a lot of time to think on some things. And I definitely started the quarantine with completely different people than who I'm surrounded by now. And I think within 2 to 3 months of quarantine, so about the time it took her to do this hike, I had this realization that I was lacking in that skill of knowing that I am my own source of happiness and other people are just additions. And I started not training myself. That's not the word I want to use. I want to use I started working more on the saying, if you're in my life, it's because I want you there, not because I need you there.
Right.
Because ultimately, the only person who's been here through every little thing I've ever been through is me. Nobody's going to understand it better. So it took me a really long time to understand that. But I can honestly say that within the last 8 to 12 months, I've had a huge turnaround on who I am as a person. And I'm very happy with who I am now. But I think it took that slowing down, school's online, people cannot come over, you cannot go out,
Right.
work on yourself. I think it took that, which is a once in a lifetime opportunity personally, to
we
get
hope.
to see that side. Yeah. We'll keep
hope.
fingers crossed.
And how old are you? Because I feel like you're young, and so to find that at such a young age is very rare.
I'm 19.
Right. That's wild.
Yeah.
Like literally to
It
find. And I tell people all the time, you don't necessarily have to find what your purpose is in life, because sometimes maybe you're just chasing that for the rest, like your entire life. But to find who you are, like, that's huge. At 19,
Yeah.
your future is bright.
I've always been told mentally I am way older than I actually am. And I think that with life slowing down in the last few months, being able to actually look into the things that I want to look into, it gives me a better opportunity to have an actual opinion on things and to say what I feel, regardless of other people's opinions. And I feel like majority of my life, I was kind of conditioned to follow the leader.
Right.
So I definitely am very thankful. It's a horrible situation. It's a horrible virus. I understand, but I am thankful for that time because I create an opinion and I stand with that opinion, you know?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
That's like, I'm very indecisive and I'm very like wishy-washy on a lot of things. And Cori always says, you made a decision, stick with it. You made a
Just roll with
decision.
it.
That's what we're going with.
Yep.
Okay.
I always second guess myself.
Yes. So for me, I think that turning point or that moment of self-discovery was kind of, I actually am not sure exactly when it happened. I can tell you, like, I hit rock bottom and then I had to start like building from the ground up. And I went through terrible mental states, like just in the darkest place that I don't ever want to go back to. And I think it was definitely after I started, well, it was before I started dating you, Cori. And then I was just like, I feel like I was very much myself. And that's kind of what attracted you, I guess, is that I was unapologetically myself.
Sure wasn't that, no, I'm just joking. It was definitely because you were
Get out of here.
unapologetically you.
But I am like, I am who I am, you know? I'm emotional. I cry a lot. I am a good friend. I'm there for my friends. I also am very loud and very obnoxious, and I am a Leo through and through. And like that's just who I am, you know? I'm just very extra. And so just realizing that that's who I am, and I don't need to calm myself down to make others feel comfortable or things like that. And I think that what really made me realize all of this and like appreciate who I am is when I took the job that I'm at now. I traveled a lot and it was solo travel. Obviously I wasn't hiking through the woods, but I was going to all of these different cities that I'd never been before by myself for weeks at a time, completely by myself, in hotels by myself, exploring cities by myself, going to breweries by myself. Like
almost hitting a moose by your damn self.
It was an elk.
An elk, my bad. I don't be on my animals. I need to go back to college. I'm sorry.
But like all of these different things, you know, taking flights by myself, riding trains by myself, and having to talk to strangers and not having the comfort of other people around you and making small talk with people that you've never met before. I think that's what really made me appreciate who I am, my willingness to accept others and my ability to talk to strangers and build connections really quickly. So yeah, I think that was my turning point because that made me realize that everything that happened in the past happened for a reason and it wasn't my fault necessarily.
Right.
Like I probably had some self-sabotaging moments in there where I did a lot of things to myself. And I'm probably the villain in someone else's story.
No, you
but
because we all are.
We all are, right.
Yeah.
But it made me realize that that's everybody, right? Everybody is a villain in someone else's story. And so for me to just appreciate who I am and work to be better, that's what changed it for me. And I feel like I'm still working towards that. Like I still don't know what my purpose is, or I don't want to say who I am because I know who I am, but I'm still evolving every day.
Right.
And so it's like I'm continuously figuring out who I am.
A
Yeah, me
constant
too,
work
I
of
feel like.
progress.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm continually figuring out who you are. I'm like, man, like, goodness gracious, who is she today?
Who's she gonna wake up
Like,
and be today?
Exactly. She gonna bow me in the eye, you know what I'm saying? Had a bad dream. Actually, I'm the one that like has these weird dreams.
This is true.
I don't know
He
why.
always has bad dreams and wakes
I-
up mad at me.
I do. I don't be mad. I don't be mad. I just be waking up like, man, what the hell? In the dream, you really was acting up. You was really acting up in the dream. Like literally, they be so real. You was just acting up. But
Dream
yeah,
you is
I'm
betraying you.
for real, going hard. Like, what am I? You know, what's in my head? But I'm glad that both of y'all really have had like moments, because that's not something that happens with everybody, or has happened with everybody. I mean, I know people who I've talked to who are older than me. I'm 30 years old, who are like, every day I'm kind of searching for something I still don't really know. Or I don't know what my purpose is or whatever. I've just been doing things to just try to figure out. And my own assumption, for some people, my mom used to say there's a lot of old fools, so you don't only have to be wise because you're old, but there's a lot of old fools. I know there's like older people who I'm like, you still try to figure some stuff out, and that's okay. You know, life comes at you fast, and sometimes you just don't know. You're still trying to figure some stuff out. So I think it's great to be at such a young age, and at very least, like, know this is who I am, and I'm going to evolve and continue to get better. But like, this is who I am. And the reason why I'm able to evolve and get better is because I understand who I am. If that makes any sense. But I feel like you don't become who you are without encountering other people. So a question from the movie is, on the trail, obviously Cheryl, she encounters like a lot of men. As you said, the hiking is kind of a man thing, or at least was in 1995. Because this movie set in 1995. Now I feel like when I go on IG, I don't see no men hiking. I see a bunch of women hiking, but maybe that's just Instagram. Maybe I'm tripping. But
It is.
she encountered mostly men. So how does this like work in her favor? And also, what role does gender play when removed from like the usual structure of society? If it plays a role at all. Because I got my thoughts on this.
You go first then.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my thing. This movie, I just really don't want to go down the road of like galloping for men. But here's what I will say.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
There's two guys in the movie that were just despicable guys. The rest of them were wonderful, loving, empathetic, caring human beings. I cannot stand the narrative that men are trash. I do understand the way and how this world is built in very misogynistic, specifically in Western cultures. So I do get it. Like, I honestly get it. But I encounter so many other men who I feel like are a lot of the men who are in this movie who will hey, you're on this. I recognize who you are. I recognize, hey, you're a female on this path. That's crazy. And it didn't go to a realm where it was like, oh, you're a girl, you can't do it, right? It was just like, that's rad. You know, you're a girl doing it. How can I help you out? How can we be connected? You know?
That's true.
And even when we talk about her husband is the most loving person ever. Got matching tattoos, mailed off to the divorce together so you can cry in her arms, allowed her to call him, sent her stuff and
sent her stuff along the way, yeah.
Right, and letters and notes and everything else. And so by no means am I saying that your story is incomplete without a man, but hers is.
Yeah.
Hers is completely, even with a relationship with her brother, right? Everybody who she ran into, except those two guys, were phenomenal. And I feel like, and I may be wrong, but I'm not a woman, so y'all take the floor away. Could you say the same for the men that you meet?
So when you were saying that, I was kind of thinking about the kind of men she met. So the culture around hiking, I feel like, is very friendly and very supportive, and
Valid
because
point.
it's a small community, right? Like, you are this small community of people with the same interest. So the two men that she met were not hikers, right? They were hunters, and they were obviously pigs. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
What about the older guy though? That brought her and let her shower and let her get some food. That you
That's
said it
true.
was Pops and Deanne.
That's true. That's true.
And then the other guy,
They did remind me of my dad and Deanne, because they were going back and forth.
Going back and forth. Hilarious. And the other guy she met at the concert, right? Giving the thing away.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, okay, maybe not two. The hunters were disgusting, and then the guy who the park ranger who was letting them get their stuff. Remember, it was raining and she was walking up the thing and she was like, I need to get my mail. And he's like, only if you get a drink with me.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, he was despicable too. So it's almost like an even thing, I guess you can say. But it just, what I liked was that I feel like I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
However, I know that I'm a villain in some people's story. On behalf of myself and on behalf of them. Okay, meaning there's some stuff I did very much on purpose, and some stuff intent versus impact were completely different. But through and through, I feel like I'm very good, and I'm like, I want to help people, and the people that I surround myself with are the same type of people. So like anytime I get on this train of talking to a lot of females, especially because in the job that I work, the field you work in, Caitlen, a lot of men. The field I work in is a lot of women. And so when I talk to them about, and they're talking about men, it's like always bad.
True.
And it's a little bit discouraging as a guy, but I know it's an uphill battle because we have been trashed for a long time. So, but my question still remains, like, when she runs into and encounters these men, like, does it work in her favor? Why does it work in her favor? And I think you already kind of touched on it, but go ahead, Caitlen.
I have a comment on like, at your job, you're always hearing the bad stuff, the negative things about men, right? And I think that can also be blamed on the media and how things are portrayed, because you don't hear praises for hardly anybody often.
Ever, right.
Your headlines are the worst news. And you can sit here and compliment 10 people a day. Oh, you look beautiful today. Oh, your hair looks great. Your face looks great. Anything, any of that. But you say one bad thing, and that's going to stay with someone forever. So
to where I'm at now, I'm trying not to even compliment people because they go take that out of line too. So I just be like trying to be cool with it.
Never mind.
You never know, right? You know, you say something like, "Oh my gosh, you look beautiful today," and then I get hit with sexual harassment. Like, nah.
Yeah. Or did I not look beautiful yesterday?
Right. I mean, and those are all valid, right? Because maybe I should not be talking about somebody's blouse or the color of their hoodie, right, at work. I have no idea, but so I get it. Like if that's how it is, so I just be trying to refrain from it. But I get where you're going. Like it's exposure. We really only getting exposed to like the negative stuff.
Because I know personally, like, I'm friends with a lot of girls who have lots of opinions. And while, yes, we do have lots of days where we're just like, gosh, this guy and this guy are just horrible. What are they doing? But I will also say there are those days where it's more of a private conversation where we're like, oh, the good things, because it's another topic that personally I hate feeding egos. I hate feeding egos because it gives people a big head and it's too much.
I
So
like my
that's
ego
one of those
fed.
things. I'll hide it. I know the doorway is only 3 feet wide. Like you've got to narrow down on the feeding the egos. So it's one of those things where I also don't think you should praise bare minimum.
Yeah.
And like, yes, the park ranger brought her a cup of coffee, but he was kind of a jerk the whole time he was around her. And the hunters, I have it down that she encountered 6 different, like, staple, maybe
Right.
groups, but 6 encounters. And you start off, I counted the first one as the father and the son that drove her to the trail. That son was going through something.
Right.
Yeah.
He was upset. And then it's Frank and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And then Greg. And then...
Oh.
But you see, like, Greg, he was great. He was nice. But again, it was kind of bare minimum. So we can't praise him for that. But we're not going to sit here and dog on Frank for being kind of sketchy in the beginning. And that's why she used that defense mechanism that we're conditioned. Oh, my husband's on the trail.
My husband's
He's
on
Right.
the trail.
a little bit ahead of me, blah, blah, blah. It's just like walking down the street. I'm pretending like I'm on the phone and I'm not talking to anybody. It's one of those things. I don't know.
Dang. Speaking of, real quick, let me
That's
jump in
true.
real quick. Let me ask you something. What is something that you have had to learn just because you are a female versus me? Like, for instance, me as just being a male, I'm not jumping on the phone because I'm walking down the street. You know what I'm saying? I'm not holding no keys in my hand. Like, what are the things for y'all? Because this is why I didn't even think about it like that. Like that, it's hard for me to even watch this movie from the right frame point because, like, I get why she did it, but, like, I don't really understand that fear because I haven't really had to be through specifically that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what else? If you had to, like, run off a list, what are some things you got to do?
Well, just from things that I've heard, stories that I've heard that have always made me double check things is like, I always check, like if I'm walking to my car, I will look under my car or through the underneath of my car to make sure nobody's standing on the other side of my car that can't just like hop in the passenger side when I unlock my doors, or they're not hiding under my car to slip my Achilles heel or something, you know?
What movie was that on? Or is
No,
that-
that's
that movie
like a
happened?
thing.
Wow.
I've heard
That was like a
stories.
series of like men doing that multiple
people
times
out
to
here
different
slitting
people.
Achilles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Completely immobilized.
And I will like check into my car, which it was much easier when I had my old car because I didn't have any tent. Now it's a little bit harder, but I'll like look through my car before I get into the driver's side to make sure that there's no one in my car. Let's see what else. Heads on a swivel when I'm walking around a parking lot. If you ever go anywhere with me or you're with me, with you it's different though because
Okay,
I
I'm
feel
about to
safe with
say.
you and like.
Oh, that's sweet.
But no, for real. But if I'm by myself, like I'm not texting when I'm walking to and from a store. I don't even like really, when I'm at the grocery store alone and I have a list on my phone and I'm looking at it, I like look at it and put it down and look around and then like continue because I don't want anybody to think that I'm like on my phone just
Not paying
doing
attention.
whatever. Right. Because I don't want anybody to think I'm vulnerable, right? So like that, and then the talking on the phone if you feel uncomfortable walking by yourself. Sometimes I will call people.
Okay.
What about you, Caitlin?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got some that I'm not thinking of.
Yeah, same as those. And then, like, anytime I'm walking, I have my keys in my fingers, like, between my fingers, just in case I have to go on the defense. I have, like, a little pokey thing I got a couple of weeks ago. It's technically a window breaker, but it can be used. Another thing is you never want to have to unlock your car door with your key. It takes too long. So you want to... My truck, actually, if I press the button one time, it opens the driver's door only. If I press it twice, it opens all. So I'll lock my front door, get in. The second I get in, I start it, lock it, and drive. Never sit in your vehicle once you get back in it. Look out for suspicious vehicles at all times. Don't go walking at night.
You know, that is a good point, because I used to be vigilant about it, and I think I've kind of slacked a little bit, especially during the daytime, with getting in your car and just sitting in it, or getting in your car and turning on music, right? Trying to make sure that it's connected and turning on music before you go. But there was this video that was going around, I think, Facebook, and it really freaked me out.
That white van?
No, it was a little red car. This girl went to go get in her car, and when she unlocked her door, somebody slid in through the back seat, and they pulled her from the back seat.
Oh, I seen that mug.
They were in the back seat. They pulled her to the back seat from the driver's seat. Somebody else jumped in the driver's seat, and they took off with her. And this was in broad daylight, and it was caught on like I think it was caught on like a video
like a
surveillance from the store. Yeah, and so after I watched that, I got really vigilant about getting in my car and automatically locking the doors, like as soon as I got in. But I've fallen out of that habit.
Yeah, I seen a video on TikTok the other day. Shout out to TikTok. I seen a video on TikTok the other day. Somebody was like, "Nope, not doing this," because like a van that was like had a sliding door. Just look, you know, how everybody kind of thinks that the nasty vans look. Parked way too close to her car, and she was like, "I'm not getting my car." And she ended up calling the police, and the police came out, I think ran it, and then there was something wrong with the car. So they started fingerprinting the car and everything else. So she was like, I could have got traffic today, like literally. And I was like, dang.
Because they can just pull you in so quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
And especially with the trafficking things that are going on, if there's a banner or a flyer or anything of the sort on my windshield, I'm driving with it on my windshield. I will not stop to grab it. I will not waste my time. If there's because with the zip ties, the ribbons, the stickers, literally there's so many things. And it's also like right now, I'm home alone. And you'll see me like there's a window to the right of me, and I'm constantly looking out of it. It's just one of those things where we have to be on the defense at all times, which sounds horrible. And I think that might also lead into all men are trash. It's not all men, but one bad apple ruins the bunch sometimes. And if I'm not saying I'm uncomfortable with any man that's walking near me, but pretty much any human, I'm always scared a little bit, but I'll never let them know.
And that's the thing is like, I honestly, when I think about her hiking this trail, to me, one, I don't mess with the animals at night. I don't, that scares me. The overnight thing, like I think I could hike it if I had somewhere to stay at night. I ain't trying to camp out in the woods by myself. And I say I could hike it. Yeah, right. 1,000 miles. I don't know.
If you had the months, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think about it and I'm like, I would be scared of what would happen to me out there being alone and being a woman. Because you could encounter, and I think that Cori kind of ties into your question, is all the men that she met on the trail pretty much were good guys, but we live in such fear of the bad guys, you know, because they are there. They are out there.
I feel that, and I feel similarly kind of connected just as like a black man and how I feel about certain stuff. So I can kind of understand it, but I do think some of the stuff is just so wild to me because I would never ever. I'm not thinking about anybody slitting my Achilles and or kidnapping me. First off, good luck. You're gonna need 2 people at least. And that's if I'm not fighting, right? Like if I'm just like limped over, you'll need 2 people. If I'm fighting, you might need 3. Or maybe even 4, right? And then I'm like,
I always
don't
say
know.
I'd be annoying.
Yeah, I'm a pretty
I'd be
big
annoying.
target.
They'd bring
me
me
too.
back.
Right
They
back.
bring me
Like I'm gonna be like, bruh, I'm gonna be singing the whole time. I'm gonna be doing everything. Y'all
I'm
gonna have
a
to keep
big
knocking me
target.
out.
But I will say that like there are times where you just get kind of like weird vibes. Like I remember one time when I was living in Denton, and Cori, I texted you and I was like, I am very uncomfortable because I was in the women's clothes section of Walmart, and there was this guy who
I remember
was
this.
on the other side of the rack, and he was like pretending that he was looking through stuff and then would look up at me ever so often. And I'm like, I know you're not shopping for women's clothes right now. And you know, he could have been looking for clothes for his daughter, and he was looking at me because I look nice and he wants to ask me for advice because he wants to get his daughter clothes.
Right.
Could
But you
could
never
be.
know.
But you never know. Could be also stalking me. That way when I walk out, he can call someone and say, hey, this girl's walking out of here. I don't know why I would, because I was like 5 inches taller than him. But it happens, you know?
They got some hitters out there.
Yeah. And it's one of those
Nah,
things
I feel
where,
that.
Katie, you were saying earlier how you have that problem with like second guessing or doubting yourself. And I feel like in those moments, I don't doubt myself at all. I don't have that problem because
be weird, be rude, stay alive.
Okay, shout out to Crime Junkie. Shout out to Crime Junkie. Every Monday. Every Monday.
Literally. It's one of those things though. You can give people the benefit of the doubt every day, but you will end up getting hurt because of giving people the benefit of the doubt.
All right.
And that's why your gut is always right.
True. Nah,
most
my
of the
mind,
time.
I got GERD. No,
Get out of here. There is, back to TikTok, there's this guy that I follow on TikTok, and his name is Fly with Tom. He's a flight attendant, but right now he is hiking the Appalachian Trail, and he's posting videos of him in his through hike. So he's going from Georgia to Maine. Insane. But he's talking about like the people that he meets along the trails and how at some of the stops, like you saw where she would stop at a town, hang all of her stuff up, shower, then get back out there. He does that. And at those towns, there are people that set up just to feed people that come off the trail or just to drive people to their destination. Like they're called trail angels or something like that.
Oh.
And like that's their whole reason out there. And he was kind of talking about how when you're out there, your faith in humanity kind of gets restored because of the kinds of people that hiking, like the culture of hiking.
Right.
I guess.
It's just such a small group, but
yeah.
And maybe so that kind of rolls me into this question. Everybody who she encounters, either like pretty much kind of tends to help her.
Yeah.
Or is very generous. Is there something about her that like inspired the generosity of these people? Like, what is it about her? Because I feel like she was getting attention and love and generosity that most other people would not.
Yeah. I think one, it's because she was a woman and because they were just so impressed that a woman was out there doing it solo. And another thing, I think it was because they could tell how inexperienced she was. Because, well, one, her bag was way too big and way too heavy.
Way too big.
And I want to talk about that, but Caitlen, what do you think about that?
I think it was
so generous.
I think you're on the same track that I was kind of having, but I also think that it has to do with possibly the fact that she was a smaller, pretty girl and she's on her own. And that sounds horrible, and I hate to point that out again, but it could have played that role. And I also feel like you can look at Cheryl or Reese and see that she's been through something and there's a reason why she's here. Yeah. And I also think that her determination and her grit kind of attracts people but they're also kind of scared because she doesn't know what she's doing. She's making it up as she goes.
Yeah.
You feel like,
And
like, just to follow that up,
Mhm.
she encounters mostly men. So do you think that, and my assumption is specifically in 1995, but maybe just for this movie, these are heterosexual men, for the most part.
Mhm.
So when you kind of hit on she's like small and pretty, do you think that like pretty people get some privilege?
Yes.
pretty privilege is a
Pretty
thing.
privilege is a thing.
I haven't experienced this a day in my life because I just recently found out that I'm ugly. Let me tell you what happened. Now I think that I was cute. Okay, I think I'm cute. I put on that no beard filter on Snapchat. Oh my god, I'm ugly.
Corn said
I
he
need
looked
to
like
see
a
this.
thumb.
He said like
I
a
need to
thumb.
see
Yeah, I was
it.
going. Matter of fact, I was gonna post it on my IG. I might still post it. I was gonna post it on my IG, but I was so afraid because like this was the first time that I really had to like admit to myself, because I've always admitted to myself that I'm at least cute. Like on a good day, I'm
You
like a 6.5.
are.
Good day, I'm a 6.5. When I really dress up, I can make it to about 7.3. This filter put me at a 2. I was definitely I'm down to a 2, and I'm
So-
there. I'm gonna have to accept that. But the pretty privilege, do we see that today? Like, do you think there's an example right now of pretty privilege that you can probably say right now?
I think the pretty privilege right
I
now
know, it's tough to
is
say.
it is. I think it is smaller framed people.
Getting boosted on TikTok.
Maybe just like, yeah, because there's so many things that, and I think that we're going into, and we've been hearing a lot about body positivity and the body positive movement and all of that. But I think, I don't want to say that that can be performative, but I definitely think that it's boosted more on social media than it is in real life.
I agree with that.
Because I think that people are more willing to accept something when it comes from a smaller, prettier person than it does from a larger, not as attractive person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that. That's been my life. You want to talk about the bag? I know you said it earlier.
Yes.
I don't want to forget that. So
Yes. Okay. So, when we were watching it and she pulled up to, I guess it was the first stop, right? With
Hotel, Motel, Holiday Inn.
it was with the guy who was cooking for them.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
Frank.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the first one.
So, yeah. And he was like, let's go through your bag. Or he called it Monster. And I think in the book, it goes into more detail about like her, like Monster kind of played a role of its own. Like it was kind of its own character. But in the movie, when we were watching it, Cori, he was like, you've got to lighten that up. And Cori goes, what'd you say? You're like, huh, that's
there's a reason why he said that, and that's going to be a part of her story going along, right? That's going to be the
Yes.
character development, which
And
if you're
then
not a
I
movie
started
buff.
singing Erykah Badu
bag lady. That's what she was.
Bag
She was the
lady.
bag lady.
because in the song she's like, basically you're gonna hurt your back carrying all this baggage, pack light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we had to sum
So-
that song up. If you have not listened to Bag Lady by Erykah Badu, one of the greatest songs of all time, but that's
Listen
literally
to it.
what the song is. Yeah, please listen to it. So what the song is about is like
Carrying baggage, let it go.
carrying
You gotta
baggage.
let that baggage go because you're gonna hurt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and people ain't gonna want to be.
Light.
There you go. People ain't gonna want to be around you. You got to pack light. You know what I'm saying? Leave that stuff behind. And I think we kind of see that because even when who was the guy, Caitlen? You probably know their names because who was the guy that was like, let's lighten that load up a little bit.
That was Frank.
It was Ed.
Oh,
It was
Oh.
Ed. I was about
Right.
to correct
Ed.
myself. Frank was the
First
farmer.
guy,
farmer.
right? The farmer.
farmer.
Ed was
yeah.
the guy at the campsite who
Yes.
he also was one of those. I think you said it earlier as trail
like
angels.
a trail angel or something.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he was one of those.
Yes. Okay, so I read something online as I was reading stuff about this movie and book, and it says, in the beginning, she staggers against its weight, but during the trek, friends on the trail help lighten her load. By the end, the load is still there, but the burden is not. She has become stronger in every sense of the word.
Right. Yeah, that's what I saw. And then also I read kind of not necessarily a goof, but I paid attention to this as well. Remember in the hotel room, she couldn't even get the bag on her shoulder.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see her struggle more in the beginning.
More, yeah.
With like her pace.
Like when she got dropped off at the trail and she just like kind of staggered, but.
Yeah, I want to see the whole time, like, man, like if she would have continued to bring attention to this bag is heavy, right? Because what she's carrying is heavy. That's the part. Here's what I love about filmmaking. And maybe she, meant this, or maybe she found the connection whenever she was writing the book. But here's what I love about filmmaking. If this wasn't her story, this was probably somebody's story, and they were able to do this. So when you are making a film, you take one thing that's going to stretch the length of the film that viewers are probably not going to pay attention to, but it means the most. The most important thing of that film is the connection with her in this pack. Because it's so much. She's carrying all the weight on her shoulder. It's all she has. She's carrying it all. And through her journey, it gets either lighter or she's able to carry it and bear it better. Or a little bit of both.
And it's symbolic of her struggles and what she's carrying and her baggage.
Both versions of baggage, yeah. Did you guys think that the scene where the little boy sits there and sings her the song, and then she has that, it's a hard throwback, and then she walks away from him and just collapses and is scream crying. I feel like that was the biggest like release.
Right.
Yes, like that was her I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I also feel like there was a small one, which this might go with something later on, but with Paul. The beach scene. She had just slept with, what was his name?
The guy from Oregon.
Yes, she just slept with him. She woke up the next day and wrote Paul's name in the sand.
And then deleted it, right? Like she covered it up.
Yes.
Deleted it.
She said something along the lines of like,
I've written your name on every beach since we've been together, but that was my
I'm
last
no longer
time.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that
was big.
That was like one of those big release moments. And you see her releasing the baggage. It almost ended.
The horse scene, the ranger's horse, you kind of like get the flashback to her mom and stuff because her mom loved her horse and loved riding horses. And I think that was kind of like her coming to terms with that in the worst way. But
yeah. I also feel like it ultimately ended on like, after walking 1,000 miles, it almost felt like she felt
nothing.
Empty. Like the end was nothing.
Yeah.
It was like, it was kind of one of those, well, there's nothing left.
I did it.
Yeah, I think they ended it, the way they ended it was great because it felt like she still had somewhere to go. It didn't feel like triumphant. So typically when you get to, we're talking about a character trying to reach their peak or whatever their journey is, they make it to the top, right? And so then we see them like, oh, we end on this high note. But for her, this is her beginning. Like she's still going. So this isn't, she just got to the bridge. She didn't necessarily, we didn't see her cross the bridge, right? We just see her get to the middle of the bridge. We never see her cross it. So, so we know that she has to cross the bridge as viewers, which means her journey is still going. And she might walk past that bridge and continue to go. She might not settle there. Hell, she might go north and cut all the way back east, make it back to Minneapolis. That's probably not going to happen. But the feeling is her story isn't over. She's not done. She's completed something to where she's been able to set off the things in her past, but she's just beginning her new life.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I feel like this whole journey was for her. I don't think that it was something that she did and now she's better, right? It was a journey of her to come to terms with everything and face everything because she had no choice but to face it. I mean, it was you either do it or you die out here. right?
Right.
Like you either survive it or you don't. And that was her life. I mean, you either survive it or you don't. And so I think that this was her, like you were saying, her beginning. Like this was her coming to terms with everything that she had done. Like now I accept it and now I have faced it. So let's move forward and be a better person. And I think that that's, and I actually enjoy that because it's realistic, right? Like I said, I'm continuously finding out who I am every day. I had some moments where I like realized who I was and like who I am and what my values are and what I stand for, but I am still learning who I am and what my purpose is. And I feel like that was a good display of that. She was 22 when she did it. So she's still very young.
Right.
And she had already been through so much at a young age. And so I loved that it wasn't I did this and now I'm better.
Right.
Because as we know, especially I've shared before, mental health issues, it's not okay, we've done therapy for a year now, we're all better. It is a continuous work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
working
that's kinda
progress,
like
work
the,
in progress.
Is that kind of like tournament and tournament?
Get out
No,
of here.
that's
It's
not a
tournament.
debate.
It's tournament.
No, it's tournament.
No.
Okay.
Yes, it is. I posted the video on my
A work in progress. And so I really enjoyed seeing that and it being a realistic depiction of life, because you don't go through something and then come out this amazing person who is healed and fixed, especially when you are struggling with a mental illness or addiction or, fighting off your demons. You have to you have to wake up every single day and beat those things every single day.
So let's wrap it up. Is there one like kind of closing remark about the movie that you felt like connected with you, that you just really want to either drive home the point or it help you have a revelation or something?
At the very end of it, I was paying attention a lot to the text that would come across it. You find out when she meets the group
quotes that
of
she
campers.
wrote in the
Yes.
so she would write a
little
quote
books.
every time she started on a new trailhead. Yeah.
Yes. And so one that stuck out to me the most was the last one that was down, and it said, "We are never prepared for what we expect." And that kind of tied it all with a little bow, and you're like, yeah, because if you expect everything, you're going to fall short. And it's kind of one of those prepare for the worst, but anticipate the worst, like the best, or hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And if you prepare for just what you're hoping is going to happen, you're going to fall short. And I think that quote really solidified the whole movie there, because a lot of things happen, and I'm sure that you clearly see she wasn't prepared for any of it. And on the bridge scene, she talks about how, like, if you would have told me at this moment that 9 years from now, I've had 2 children, I got married almost within view of where this bridge is. It's one of those things where you're like, wow. Because I'm sure 5 years ago, you would not, if you went back 5 years and told yourself, hey, this is where you'll be in 5 years,
Right.
you would have laughed in your face. You wouldn't have, no, that's not going to happen. So I really like that ending quote.
For me, one of the reasons that this is my favorite book is because I kind of connect with her and her story. I've never done half of the things that she's done, but in my own way I have, right? So I've hit rock bottom. My rock bottom, so far in my life. And I have been a runner So, meaning that I've definitely gotten better about this, but I used to run from every problem that I had. Like, I just would not deal with it. Sleep. If I'm sad or if I'm thinking about something, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go to sleep, which is why when I am in a depressed episode, I will sleep all day long and then still be sleepy enough at night to sleep all night. Like, it is, I do, and I definitely have gotten better about it, but especially in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s. I sound so old. In my early 20s.
You just age yourself.
I know. I really did run from my problems, and I would create all of these issues and then just let them be, pretend that they weren't happening. And so there's a quote from the book that I want to read. And it says, "Fear to a great extent is born of a story we tell ourselves. And so I choose to tell myself a different story from the one women are told. I decided I was safe, I was strong, I was brave. Nothing could vanquish me. Insisting on the story was a form of mind control, but for the most part, it worked. Every time I heard a sound of unknown origin or felt something horrible cohering in my imagination, I pushed it away. I simply did not let myself become afraid. Fear begets fear, power begets power. I willed myself to beget power. And it wasn't long before I actually wasn't afraid. I was working too hard to be afraid." And that sticks with me because I feel like the overarching story here is that you have to face everything. You cannot run from it because you will always have to face it at some point. And so you have to be brave enough to face whatever is ahead of you. And you have to know that you are strong enough to handle anything that's ahead of you.
Okay, y'all got
boom.
Deep. Y'all got deep.
Period, queen.
What,
Drop
there you
mic.
go. Hit the little thing. Listen,
Period.
if you stayed with us this entire time, we definitely appreciate it. Caitlin, we appreciate having you on.
Yes.
Thank you guys for having me.
First guest. We might gotta, you know what I'm saying? Might gotta bring you back at some time, the first guest. So things gotta happen. We appreciate it. But we're gonna get out of here. But before we do, of course, we got a couple of things to just wrap up and let you know. One, as you can see, this is a different format. We're bringing on guests and we have video and everything else. All this stuff costs money that even though Joe dropped that stimmy, money that we need help with. So we are self-funded. If you want to hit us up on Cash App or Venmo, it's Press Next Podcast. Throw us a little coin, $1, $5. All of it goes a long way. So please, if you want to support us, just drop us a little coin. Sign up for either our Facebook group, follow us on Twitter. We're really active on IG, trying to get more TikTok. But here's the thing about TikTok is you have to post so much. And
to
we
even
don't
be seen.
Right. Like to get on the For You page, you got to post so much. Like people be telling you, post 3 times a day during these 3 times and this type of content. I'm not 3 times a day. You know how much content you have to have for a week to hopefully get like 65K views? And it be the stuff that you don't even, anyway, I'm not going to go on a rant about TikTok. Because TikTok is great. TikTok is great and it's useful. So follow us on TikTok, Press Next Podcast. And here is the thing. You can still always join our Press Next package. We're going to change stuff up a little bit. Next week, we'll kind of let you know exactly what we're doing on how to change it up. But here's what we need. We need reviews on Apple Podcasts. We need that. We need followers and stuff on IG. We need that. We need interaction. So the more you interact, the more chances you will get to get fun, cool stuff from us. Because we do really appreciate that and we appreciate y'all. So thank y'all for tuning in. Next week, we will be talking about one of my favorite films, one of Katie's favorite films, Invisible Man. It's great. We're going to have that conversation. But as always, Cadey, you can just give them your spiel. You know what you say as always.
You know, you hanging out, you're watching TV.
Eating popcorn.
And you get that little message that says, "Are you still there?" Always press next.
Do it every single time. We love y'all. We'll see y'all later.